electric one, or, yeah, electric.
The one about comfort food, is it accurate because like it's a clear question, or is it? But like
It's not even a question.
Which of the following best represents your opinion on gun control? There's two choices. One, the government should confiscate our guns. Or two, we have the right to keep and bear arms.
I guess that only gives you two options and people can do it different ways. Like so
Why is it slanted?
Which way is it towards their opinion?
Yeah, which opinion?
The top one is slanted towards opinions to get rid of guns, and the second one is slanted towards opinions to protect the guns.
All right,
yeah,
so
isn't it slanted because there's not enough options and people might not
that's
believe either?
Yeah.
sure. I suppose. There should be a 3, none of the above, right? No opinion. I prefer not to answer. Sure. So you have to, Sam and Eric, you have to be careful about the way you word things. This question definitely is slanted for lots of different reasons. So the word confiscate has some negative connotations. Like Carter said, sorry, I blinked out on your name. Sorry. Like Carter said, there should be another option, like neither, none of the above, prefer not to answer. You may not fall in either one of those categories. And then the last one, a freeze in nuclear weapons should be favored because it would begin a much needed process to stop everyone in the world from building nuclear weapons now and reduce the possibility of nuclear war in the future. Why is it slanted, Maddie?
I don't know, it's just slanted.
Bias.
Yeah.
Yeah, slanted bias. They in this instance they mean the same thing. And what are they trying to bias you towards?
Reducing the possibility of the nuclear war.
They want
because
to.
it says should be favored.
They want to slant you towards a nuclear freeze. All right, so today we're going to talk about observational studies and experiments. Tomorrow we're going to design experiments. I don't see you Thursday or Friday. And then next Monday, I think it's Monday that I see you, we'll talk about drawing conclusions from experiments. Then you have a test to review, and you have a test next week. And I can't remember what day.
I thought we were doing a presentation.
Well, you're going to have a project
That's what?
Do this for you.
test next week. Yeah. I don't know where you sit, Trey.
Okay.
Anybody remember where Trey sits? You sit right there, Trey. Right there.
Again?
Yeah. I got to keep an eye on you. All right, so test next week. I'll hand out the project the beginning of next week. The project's pretty simple, and you can work with somebody if you want. Can I flip? Oh wait, I almost forgot. Actually, you know what? I'll put up the answers to the homework after the notes. All right, so experiments. Last year, actually it's been quite a few years, North Medford offered an after-school 8th period ACT prep class that students could volunteer to take. 44 students took the course and then took the ACT. The average ACT score for this group was 23.2. The average ACT score for all students who did not take the prep class was 21.4. can you conclude that taking the prep course will cause a student's ACT score to increase? Yes or no?
No.
How many of you say yes? How many of you say no? Okay. The answer is no. Why, Sam?
Because they only took a small amount of people versus like a full school.
No. There is something in there that tells you why we can't. One word. Volunteers. So the fact that the kids volunteered for the class would be a mean that those who took the prep class, it was a voluntary response, which we know is a bad way to sample. And so because we had voluntary response, there are some lurking variables. What could they be?
They could be nerds.
All right. Okay, Noah?
The 44 students are like, it doesn't tell you how much, or how many students took the ACT without the prep course.
Well, okay, so I know school's been weird for a while, but they used to make every junior take it in March. And I actually used to teach the ACT prep class, at least the math part. One of the English teachers taught the English part. So this actually was something that we did. So I guess when I say all students, I mean all North Medford students who didn't take the prep class.
Oh.
I don't know what you said. My brain totally lost it. I told you I'm tired today. You said the 44.
Student that didn't take the prep class?
I think you were talking about the sample size. I don't know. They used to make all juniors take it. They used to offer an ACT prep class during the 8th period, and we would only have around 44. I mean, I taught it for 2-3 years. And sometimes I'd have kids come, and then the next time we met, I'd have a different number of kids. Different kids came, and one kid didn't come that had come before. So,
I still don't know the lurking variables.
what's something that could cause their score to be higher than the other kids? Tyler?
People who are willing to stay after school to study are already probably more likely to get a higher score.
So,
Why do you say?
motivation?
Yeah.
Is that a good way to kind of sum up what you said? I mean, like Tyler said, somebody who's going to stay is probably already more likely to just study on their own. They're more motivated to get a higher score. So they sign up for the class. Michelle, you have your hand up. I didn't hear you. Should be following along. How is music going to help you listen to me? So you think by being in the class they're going to spend more time studying? Okay. Carter, you had your hand up too.
Oh yeah. It was just like they're going to spend more time outside of class actually studying.
Okay. Any other thoughts? I mean, those are some.
Strict parents.
Eric?
They have more.
Calvin? Never mind. All right.
Oh,
Eric?
more free time. Will I go with more time student? Because it's voluntarily.
Okay,
So like they have the time to be able to take it.
okay. Time, extra time to take the prep class. So there's lots of things that could affect why they got a higher score than the others. So, how can we show causation? That means that taking the ACT prep class causes the higher scores. Hayden?
You don't make it voluntary.
Okay. So how would I do that?
You force kids to do it.
Okay.
Mandatory clause.
Any other ideas? Carter?
Look at the actual time difference they spend studying, for the kids who took the class and those who didn't. Because since they took the class, they probably spent more time studying.
Okay, but how would that show that taking class, I guess?
Because
You
you
get-
can compare it to their scores.
Yeah,
See if kids who study longer.
yeah. I mean, you could do that. I guess what I was trying to get at is the whole don't make it voluntary, Michelle. Pre-test and post-test. Okay. So today we're looking at experiments, and the only way you can show causation is by doing an experiment, and like Hayden said, that's because then you're kind of forcing a treatment on somebody, and then you can say that something causes something else. So, to add to his don't make it voluntary, we would want to carefully design an experiment. And now we're going to define some words about experiments. Experiment. So with surveys allow you to show that there's an association or a relationship, a correlation between variables. Experiments are the only way you can show something causes something else. So, like I said, some definitions. Observing individuals and measuring variables of interest, but without attempting to influence the responses. And that's the key part here. That's just called an observational study. You're just letting people do their thing and you're observing what happens.
So would that be an observation? Don't we just look at that?
Yeah, yes. Because some people chose to volunteer, some people didn't. When you deliberately impose a treatment, so like Hayden said, force kids to take the class on individuals and then measuring their responses, it's called an experiment. Experiment. I had already written that and I hesitated on how to spell experiment. It's kind of sad. The advantage of an experiment over an observational study is that it allows you to show causation, meaning that whatever treatment you impose caused the results you get. A variable that is not among the explanatory or response variables in a study, but that may influence the response variable, is called a lurking variable, or also called a confounding variable. So you may see those two words, lurking, confounding. And the reason why, excuse me, the reason why we can use those interchangeably is because lurking variables often lead to confounding. So if I say a picture, it's not really a picture, it's shapes with some lines. So here's my ACT prep class. And here's the ACT scores. So I can't say that I have causation, that the ACT prep class caused the ACT scores to be higher. I can't say that because we have all these other confounding or lurking variables that you guys came up with. Motivation, more time spent studying, just time in their day to actually take the class. So since we have all those other variables that might affect the ACT scores, we can't say we have causation, but we think there is a correlation between taking the ACT prep class and getting higher ACT scores. So some other things you guys need to know about experiments. A specific condition applied to individuals in an experiment is called the treatment. The individuals to which treatments are applied are called experimental units. When the units are human beings, we call them subjects. The explanatory variables in an experiment are often called factors, and each factor may have several different levels. Eric approves of the length of my notes. Any questions before I flip? Calvin. Confounding. The way I think of it is something that can be confused with. So we think the ACT prep class caused the higher ACT scores, but there's like motivation or just plain intelligence that are confounding variables. So they might be the reason why the higher scores. So the way I think of it, confounding can be something that can be confused with why you got the results you got. Does that make sense? I don't actually know the real definition. I don't think I've ever looked it up. Now I'm curious. Any questions? Trey's mad at me.
No, I'm just so hot right now.
Really? She was complaining about how cold it was outside.
It's like 90 in here. I'm so
Here,
Well, that's because I got all this stuff up here.
What is that?
Generating heat. You can go stand in the doorway if you want, Trey. No? Well, I guess I'll do the Avery.
We just do class notes, right?
No,
No.
we're on the exit task.
Exactly. Even better.
Here, we watch the announcements outside.
Yes, we can watch the announcements outside. All right, we're gonna work through this one together. It's like what you'll see in your homework, because I know I've been teaching long enough. If I don't do the exit task, you guys won't either. So, all right. Number 1, does reducing screen brightness increase battery life in laptop computers? To find out, researchers obtained 30 new laptops of the same brand. They chose 15 of. I need to go back to English class to learn how to proofread. I'm sorry. 15 of the computers at random and adjusted their screens to the brightest setting. The other 15 laptop screens were left at the default setting, which is moderate brightness. Researchers then measured how long each machine's battery lasted. Was this an observational study or an experiment? And then how do you know?
What?
Trey, why is it an experiment?
Because they're messing with the computers. Like they're changing.
They imposed a treatment.
Yes.
They made one of the screens have the absolute brightest setting.
They what?
They imposed a treatment. That's the definition of an experiment. And the treatment here was that they made half the computers have the brightest setting. I'm going to write compers instead of computers. No, I'm not. Sorry. All right, and then this question always makes me intrigued. Does eating dinner with their families improve students' academic performance? According to an ABC News article, teenagers who eat with their families at least 5 times a week are more likely to get better grades in school. This finding was based on a sample survey conducted by researchers at Columbia University. Is it an observational study or an experiment, and how do we know? How do we know it's observational? No treatment. How many of you eat dinner with your families?
Not 5 days a week.
Sam.
No? I'm always interested in that one.
My parents told me that if I didn't eat
Study.
with them, I'd do drugs when I was little. And now I do drugs.
I don't know what to say to that. So I've always been a big, eating as a family is important. And then my oldest this year with football and now basketball, he's never home in time to eat with us, and I feel bad because he always has to eat by himself. I know, probably, Michelle. Say that louder for me.
Isn't it more likely for AP and honor students to have their parents be together?
I don't know. I don't know the statistic on that one.
I don't know. Because like I think my first AP class in like high school, like that was like our teacher's first. How many of you guys have parents together now? And like the majority of the class like was not parents together.
Let's do that weird.
Interesting. What was your first AP class?
AP geography.
Was it Weinberg?
Yeah.
This seems like something he would ask.
I know. It's interesting.
All right. What are the explanatory and response variables here? Noah?
The explanatory is. Wait, I need to read it. The
Okay.
explanatory is eating with their families, and the response is their academic performance.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, so last one. Explain clearly why such a study cannot establish a cause and effect relationship. And then suggest a lurking variable or two. I added the or two. That may be compounded with whether families eat dinner together. So why can't we establish cause and effect, first of all?
It's an observation.
It's an observational study. So if it was an experiment, we should be able to show the cause and effect relationship. But since it's an observational study, we can't. And then what would be some lurking or confounding variables that would be a reason why a kid gets good grades but doesn't eat with their family at least 5 times a week? Trey?
Your family's always working.
Always working.
Or if the kid is sports.
No food.
Sports. No.
No food.
Okay, hold up. We want things that could be why a kid gets good grades but doesn't eat with their family. So Trey's saying, because the parents are always working,
You said different schedules.
different schedules, okay? Hannah said sports, which there is a correlation between sports and academic performance. They say that people who do sports tend to do better in school. Different schedules might help if I... Maddie,
Maybe they spend time studying instead of eating with their family.
okay? Time studying,
Chooses to use time.
not eating.
So they don't eat, they just study?
Well, they don't eat as a family,
Oh.
and they feed their brain and not their body. Eric, oh, any other thoughts?
Ooh, it depends what they're eating.
Oh,
That
nasty.
is true. There is a correlation between eating chocolate when you study and then eating chocolate when you take your test. They say it actually helps you remember what you studied.
They can have
That's
anorexia.
all I have.
It's
What does that have to do with good grades?
They wouldn't be eating. I do
So they
remember
have
that.
the...
You okay?
No, Hayden, no.
Which makes no sense. It's caffeine. It's caffeine.
Say that again?
Okay, so like elementary school, we did like our oats test
Uh-huh.
practice. They made us chew gum during that,
Yeah.
and then we chewed gum during our test.
Is it
I remember that.
Is there when you
So
study
gross.
right, you
They
take
made
the
me
test?
smoke a bowl when I was doing
I
that.
don't know that one.
Yeah.
Still no test.
Well, it sounds like Instagram.
No, you know, zip pouches.
They're like $1.
Zip pouches.
Uh-huh.
I heard those. They probably should have got
Interesting. I can hand out chocolate. I can't hand out nicotine patches.
I think you should hand out jars of peanut butter.
My jar of peanut butter is like I'm scraping the sides.
Full yesterday, wasn't
It was not full yesterday.
It was too.
No, it wasn't.
3/4
Okay, but we'll have to
You think I ate 3/4 of a jar of peanut butter?